What is up, YouTube? Today we are driving a 2015 Porsche Macan S. S is a more sporty package. It's got the 3-liter V6 engine. I bought this recently from Copart, and I got this car for actually an amazing deal, but I will tell you why it's not really a deal at all. I'm going to show you guys the engine real quick. Here it is. This is the Porsche 3-liter V6 Macan S engine. This engine is not known to be a very good engine. This car only has 90,000 miles. I'm going to start it up and show you what the issue with this one is. Starts up real nice. There is no check engine light on this car, but the driver's side bank is making a pretty nasty kind of noise. These engines do regularly run relatively noisy, but this particular engine has an extra little tapping noise to it. And I'll explain all that when we start driving the car. So the Macan S has larger rotors, huge massive front brakes. The rear brakes are a little smaller, but the front brakes are pretty massive on this one. It's got the quad tip exhausts. These actually make a really nice note when you first start the car up. On the inside, this is my favorite part of this car. It pretty much looks like a 2012, 2013 991 911 inside. The interior I can't complain too much about. Really nice leather seats. They are on the stiffer side of things, but they are relatively comfortable. You got a beautiful steering wheel with paddle shifters. This car comes equipped with the PDK 7-speed dual clutch transmission. It's probably one of my favorite parts about this car, this transmission right here. It shifts extremely fast, and they're pretty robust transmissions. You just have to change the oil on these every 60,000-70,000 miles, and these are relatively bulletproof. I can't say much bulletproof about the engine, but we'll get to that in a second. It's got the nice chrono package with the clock there. You got a digital navigation system here. You got your TPMS, torque split. You got your oil, coolant temperatures, voltage, direction. This car even has a nice speed limit sign, nice infotainment system, navi, phone, all that, all the trinkets. You got heated seats. Sport mode opens up the exhaust valves a little bit, making this car a little bit louder. It probably changes some settings in the transmission too. I'm gonna show you guys the rear seats. Not a whole lot of room back here. It's like a squished Cayenne, in my opinion. I'll show you guys the trunk as well. There's a button right there for that one. Trunk opens by itself. Let's see if they even give you, yeah, you get a spare tire, you get a jack, a tool. Nice little cover. The trunk closes by itself right there. You get a nice panoramic sunroof, CD changer in here, glove box, nice cup holders. They're actually really well built. They're not like flimsy cheap cup holders. They're actually, you know, they can't really break. Got a nice storage compartment here, aux cord, power outlet. You get Bluetooth aux, all the things you'd want in a modern car. Your window switches, you know, the mirrors fold right here. Oh, let me unfold them. This car also has a very beautiful key. It's the shape of the car. Put that in, but you got to put the brake on this one to start it. Okay, replace ignition key. Let's put the navigation back on, and we're going to take this thing for a drive, and I'm going to explain to you why I think you should stay away from this car. I bought this thing on Copart. I won it for like 9,500 bucks, give or take. And it's a clean title, clean Carfax. The damage, it was listed as minor dents and scratches, which it's a pretty clean body. The interior is very clean. Everything is nice about this, except the engine has a nasty tick. And I've spoken with a few different mechanics, and they all pretty much said that you have to take apart like half the engine to get down to the diagnosis of it. It sounds like a lifter tick, but it's I believe it's something more than that. I know these timing chains like to stretch, the high pressure fuel pumps like to go out on these engines. There's just a lot of common problems with these engines in particular. I mean, with only 90,000 miles and a ticking noise, that's kind of soon. I have seen these cars on the auction with 150,000. I've seen them with 190,000. But I've also seen some with 60, 70,000 and they're already tapping and ticking. And these engines are not cheap. A good low mileage engine is around, I want to say like 7-8 grand, and it's like around 2 grand to fix it. And this car's only worth, I want to say like 18-19 grand. So if I were to put a new engine in, I'd have in this car as much as it's worth, pretty much. So it kind of makes no logistical sense to, you know, to replace that and fix it, to resell it. That's primarily why I bought this car, in order to, you know, resell and make a profit. And it just doesn't make any sense. And I see why these cars are going for so cheap. I mean, you're getting a, you know, $70,000, $80,000 Porsche that was brand new for, you know, 10 grand now. At the auction, of course, because on the street you have to still pay, you know, around 20,000 for one of these in like perfect, you know, running condition. So the looks might attract you to this car because it's a very beautiful looking car. I'd say it's more of like a feminine-esque car. It's more like Cayenne is more, you know, manly. Macan is more feminine because it's like a smaller, squished, but it's beautiful nonetheless. The interior, 10 out of 10 if I had to say. It's even got a heated steering wheel. There's a button right behind here. The steering wheel actually gets very hot. You got heated seats, all your climate controls. You got electronic parking brake, traction. Let's put the sport mode on. Put it in manual mode. Well, we got some traffic here, so we're not going to be able to get it really up to speed. It's a relatively quick car. It's a twin turbo V6 3-liter, so this thing makes like 375 horsepower, somewhere roughly around there. And it's a lot more power than the base model. I think the base model comes with a turbocharged 4-cylinder, and the S comes with the 3-liter V6. Personally, I would stay away from these engines because they only last pretty much up to 100,000 miles. I don't know if this one wasn't maintained correctly, or if, you know, like what somebody did wrong to get it to tick like that at this low of a mileage. Maybe the oil changes were not done on time, or it wasn't serviced on time. But I've heard of a lot of catastrophic failures with these particular cars. I've heard the timing chain stretch. I've heard the high pressure fuel pumps start to rattle around and make a lot of noise. And these typically run a little noisy for some reason. And with when I spoke with a bunch of mechanics, a lot of them told me that this is like a majority of Volkswagen, which are not very good cars. I don't mean to offend anybody about Volkswagens, but they're not very reliable, long-lasting cars. I'm sure there are exceptions, like probably the diesel models or whatnot. Oh, the steering wheel's getting very hot, actually. It's very pleasant. Lightning downshift. It makes a very, very nice noise with or without the sport mode button on, but it has a very nice note to it, and it has like that cool little pop on the shifts, and that comes like that stock. I think it's like in the part of the stock tune, basically. It's a very pleasant car to drive around, to look at, to use. It's just, it's not gonna last you that long. That's my biggest complaint about this car. It handles nice. It's got a decent amount of space. It's not as big as a Cayenne, let's say, but probably the transmission's one of my favorite things. I'm actually looking at buying a 12, 13, 991, 911 with the same kind of interior. Just the 911s, they typically tend to have more longer lasting engines, and it's a more special feeling car, I would say. But this is a beautiful car nonetheless. It's got very bright headlights at night. The sound system sounds absolutely phenomenal. It's got Bose subwoofers, Bose speakers. This car pretty much ticks all the boxes of what you'd want to have in a car. The braking is extremely nice. We're gonna hop on the highway in 1 second, get it up to some speed. I just want to give you guys my honest take on the Macan, because I've always been curious about these cars. They are getting relatively cheap, where it's very tempting for somebody to might want to purchase one of these. You're getting a very nice Porsche for, you know, 15-20 grand. But I see why they depreciate so badly. Same thing with the Porsche Panameras, same thing with certain Cayennes. The only good engines I've heard, like for the Cayennes, Panameras, are the 4.8 V8s. The V8s typically tend to last a little bit longer. Lightning fast shifts. The seats are on the stiffer side. They're not soft like, I want to say like an S-Class seat, or even the 911 I would say has a softer padding on the seat. Lovely exhaust note on this vehicle, especially when you first start it up on a cold start. It has this like very beautiful tone. It quiets down after about like 30 seconds to a minute, but until it does that, it sounds phenomenal. I'm sure if you did something to the exhaust, like a resonator delete, or it would sound even better. And I believe this is a valved exhaust because it has the sport mode option, and when you tap it, the tone does get a little bit louder. Yeah, there's also 7-speed. You got the gear indicator right there. You got automatic headlights. I really like that they put on these new generations the navigation inside the cluster. That's a very nice modern touch. And when you're on certain streets, it shows you the speed limit sign there, which is very neat. Sometimes you're going a little bit above the speed limit, and it's nice to be able to, you know, to take a look down and see that there. It's pretty decent in the handling department. I mean, obviously there's some traffic. We're going a little slow right now, so we're not going to be able to test that out. Overall, it's a very pleasant car, but it will not last as long as, I mean, you can't really compare it to a Lexus, because a Lexus doesn't give you that same feeling of excitement. But like, I just bought a RX 350 Lexus for around the same price as this, with 140,000, and there's literally nothing wrong with it. And it'll probably last another 200,000-300,000 miles with very basic maintenance, and you don't have to worry about that car breaking down. But you're never gonna get as excited about that Lexus as you will hopping in this. The interior is a lot more improved in here. Overall, it's a nicer car. Like, the finished product is nicer. It's just this engine, it's lacking in the reliability department. I mean, motors should not fail, you know, at 90 to 100,000 miles on a car. At least the older cars, they used to last a lot longer than that. Very rainy day today. It's supposed to be raining all day. I wanted to make this video because I'm going to be dropping off this car back off at the auction, because it's just not worth fixing, you know. At least to me, it's not. But if somebody is mechanically inclined, let's say they're a Porsche tech, they could fix this a lot cheaper, you know, because you don't count your own labor when you're doing your own work. But in terms of making a profit on it, it just kind of doesn't make any sense to put a new engine. And if I were to, let's turn the heated steering on. Lightning fast downshifts. I love this transmission. The twin turbochargers definitely give this car a nice amount of power. It just, yeah, it makes no sense for me to fix it, but for somebody else, it's still got good mileage, you know. I've seen these things with 150,000 at the auction bring in around 9-10 grand. I just want to get my money out of it, you know, move on to the next one. I love those pops. Every time you have it floored and you give it a shift up, It does that nice little, very tasteful. I am a big fan of these cars. Like I like the Macan GTS. Those look a little more aggressive and like a red color maybe, or a white color. They're very good looking cars. It's just for long-term use and ownership. If I see a failure of an engine at 90,000, I can't call that, you know, a good car. I do understand that when you want to have something nice, there's more maintenance involved. But you know, like you buy a 911, you could at least get 150, 200,000 miles out of it. Typically, you know, and I'm not saying always, because you know, you could buy a bad example and you'll have more issues than joy with it. But this car should last a little longer than 90,000 miles engine-wise, you know. What really surprised me the most is there's no check engine lights on this car. There's no timing codes. There's no indications other than a strong like tapping noise that there's something wrong with the car. And I have at the auction checked out a 44,000 mile example. It didn't have it had like the slight ticking noise. I think they all do, but it didn't have that tapping noise. And then I've also started up a 77,000 mile one, a Macan, and it also didn't have the tapping noise, but it had like the ticking. So the ticking is a very regular noise in these. And a lot of people actually, because I spoke to some Porsche techs, and they said a lot of people come into the dealer saying that there's a strange noise, but that's just how these cars run, you know, normally, naturally from the factory. They just have noisy engines. The heated steering wheel is very nice on this. You also could change the gears with the shifter right here. But I do like the paddles. The paddles are a nice touch. All in all, very nice car. If you are in the market to buy one of these, I would just get some sort of pre-purchase inspection. Make sure that the engine is good, because these are known to have a lot of issues. I was even watching recently the Car Wizard on YouTube. He's Tyler Hoover's mechanic, Hoover's Garage, and he just had a customer bring in a Macan S, I think the same year, give or take a few years, and it had roughly around 100,000 miles, and same exact thing. Everybody thinks it's a lifter tick, but it's much more severe than that. I was not actually able to get a full-on diagnosis to tell me what it actually is that's ticking. I did post in a Porsche Macan Facebook group, and a lot of people said it sounds like the top end, but it's actually the bottom end. Some of these cars do suffer from bore scoring issues. I know some of the older 911s suffer from that too. Yeah, if I were to, you know, to stick with I'd probably get a Cayenne, the V8, if I wanted like a reliable Porsche, or I would just stick with the 911s. The 2012 991, that's like the first year they started making those. Very good car. A 2013, 14, especially the Carrera S with the 3.8 liter 6-cylinder engine. Those are very robust engines. Not a whole lot of issues with those. Except for that 911 from 2012-13, the reliable one, they don't depreciate as much as this or a Panamera will. You got to still pay around 50 is like the bottom entry price. Like 60 you got to pay for a nice one. I'm sure in the 40s you could get one with like a salvage title, or you know, some sort of title history issues. But if you want like a clean Carfax, clean title car, and if you wanted to hold resale value, you got to spend at least 50-60 grand on a, you know, like a halfway decent 911 with a similar kind of interior. I do want to, you know, floor it a few times, show you guys the acceleration, and then conclude, you know, this video. Not much more to show you guys here. Yeah, I drove this thing around for a few weeks as it is. No check engine lights came on. It's not overheating. It doesn't have any, like, you know, big major issues except that tapping noise. And one cool thing I did hear from one guy, he has one of these and he actually did like a timing chain service, that it's a non-interference motor. So even if your timing chain stretches or snaps, your valves won't bend when the chain snaps. Which most cars, if your chain snaps, the motor is done. Like the crushed valves, the pistons will get an indent from the valves. Downshifted a few gears. It sounds lovely. It pulls very nicely. I will say this car does pull very nicely. Not the fastest car in the world, but it does pull very nicely. It does put a smile on your face, and that's guaranteed. I don't want to drive like a complete asshole because there's a lot of cars around me and it's raining, it's wet. I don't want to endanger anybody's life. But I do want to give you guys a nice feel and show you the good parts of this car. The transmission, the interior, the exterior. Beautiful car all in all. It has nice features. The only issue is the heart, you know, the heart of the car, the engine. It's known to have a lot of problems, and you don't want to really own a car that's got a lot of issues with the engine, because you need that, you know. You need that to be decent and relatively reliable. So I would recommend the V8s from Porsche or the 911 engines. I don't know why the 911 ones, they're also 6 cylinders, why they last so long, and why the Panamera Macan ones, they didn't do that good of a job with the reliability of these. But I think it has something to do with the fact that a lot of this stuff is made by Volkswagen. I heard this car is like 90% Volkswagen, just kind of finished by Porsche, dressed up as a Porsche, but it's pretty much a Volkswagen at its core. Very fancy Volkswagen. That's the pop I'm talking about. Yeah, every time you floor it, upshift, it sounds phenomenal. In the sound department, it's 9 out of 10. Pleasant driving experience. I don't think this has massaging seats, but Porsche is more sport oriented. Mercedes is more of the comfort king. Stops extremely well. These brakes are huge up front. I don't know if they're 8 piston or 6 piston. I'm not too sure about the details of that, but they do have great stopping performance. This car does not have actual physical dipstick. You measure the oil by going into the screen right here. That's how you check the proper oil. Also, to check the oil, you have to warm it up, I think turn it off. There's like a procedure for it in order to get an accurate reading on the oil level. I did try to change the oil on this. I put slightly thicker 5W40. I also add a little bit of Lucas oil stabilizer, thinking maybe it would quiet something in the drivetrain, but because initially I thought it was just a lifter tick. Like I know I have a 911 996, and that car, when it sits around for maybe a month or two unyused, unstarted, the hydraulic lifters like to tick. They tick for like 30 minutes, and then once the oil flows through everything, it quiets down. I thought maybe it could be the same thing, or I thought maybe it could be just old oil or wrong thickness of oil, but none of those things proved to be correct. It's mechanical, you know, something mechanically internally is worn out. And to start digging into this engine, like a couple mechanics told me, it's for like you know, just a basic, you know, taking apart of the top end, it's like 2-3 grand, and that's not even with anything fixed. That's just taking it apart to diagnose the issue, and then you usually have to replace all new gaskets, seals, bolts, and none of that is cheap either for this car. Engines are also pretty expensive. It's like for a low mileage one, it's like 7-8 grand. For a high mileage one, you can get it for like 5-6 grand, but the high mileage one might have the exact same problem with the tapping as this does. So it kind of makes no sense to put a high mileage engine back in to save a couple bucks. What would make the most sense, honestly, is to do a full-on rebuild of this engine and just refresh everything depending on how severely damaged it is. But from like a car dealer perspective, it financially doesn't make sense. Like, you're not going to make any single profit on this car if you end up replacing the engine going through that route. I did try changing the high pressure fuel pump because that's like a $200 thing. I thought that maybe could help. I tried the oil, but like new thicker oil, that didn't really do anything. So that's where I left off my journey with this car. So yeah, when you guys are buying from Copart, be careful. It's kind of difficult to buy a car that has nothing wrong with it from Copart. Usually all of them are there for a reason. If it's not mechanically damaged, it's going to be crashed. That's my my warning to you. It's better if you're buying from an auction to buy from a more transparent auction, something like Mannheim, Odessa, even CarMax auctions, because it's a much more transparent auction. They actually disclose to you the issues with the car, like if it's got a major engine defect, if it's got a transmission defect. Also, buying a car sight unseen is never the smartest smartest thing. I bought this one sight unseen from the Indiana Copart, and didn't turn out too well. At least I got to enjoy it for a little bit. I got to make a video out of it. And maybe, who knows, maybe somebody will buy this, bring it back to life. If somebody's mechanically inclined and they want to keep this car for themselves, then it still makes sense to fix it, you know? Because for around, you're going to be like 20 grand in it, you're going to have a really nice car. As long as you rebuild the engine correctly, it's going to be worry-free for another 100,000 miles, and you get to enjoy a very beautiful car. But if you're a car dealer and you're thinking about buying one of these for profit, I would just be careful. I mean, I'm in love with this transmission. That's probably my favorite part about this car. Lightning fast shifts. The suspension is on the stiffer side. Most Porsches are. Most Porsches are sport oriented. So it's like a stiffer, more sporty driving experience, better handling, slightly less comfort. It's not comfort oriented really, but it's still a pretty comfortable car nonetheless. And none of these old cars have transmissions this fast, because I'm used to driving a lot like of cars from the 2000s, and the gear shifts tend to take like one full business day to execute, but in this car they are just instantaneous, because with the dual clutch the next gear is preloaded, and these are pretty robust transmissions. From when I talked to a couple people who specialize in Porsches, they said great things about these transmissions. I'm sure there are cases where somebody didn't change the oil on the transmission, and you know, they blew something up or something got dirty or clogged. So that about concludes my take on this car. Very nice car, very quick, looks gorgeous inside, outside, has all the features you could ask for out of a car. Phenomenal speakers, great exhaust note, fast transmission, even has a heated steering wheel, folding mirrors, like everything you would want out of a modern Porsche. I would just be careful with that exact engine you see right there, the 3-liter V6. Makes great power, but I know there's a lot of issues with timing chains, high pressure fuel pumps, the front timing cover, the bolts tend to snap, and there's a lot of oil leaks around that area. That's another common thing. This car, I also took the bottom tray off when I was changing the oil, and I noticed around the oil cooler, around the front covers of the engine, a decent amount of oil seepage. So keep that in mind when you are checking out one of these. I can't say much about the base model one because that one has, I believe, the 2-liter 4-cylinder. I might be wrong on that, but it's the turbocharged one. I can't say too much about that because I don't know. It has significantly less horsepower than the Macan S with the 3-liter V6. That one might be maybe more reliable, but I can't say much on that because I haven't experienced that one. But I just wanted to share my experience with the 2015 Macan S. Lovely car. If you are buying one of these, maybe buy one with 20,000 miles, drive it up until 85, 80,000, trade it in. Or possibly, maybe I just got a bad example of one. Maybe it was neglected, maybe somebody didn't change the oil on time, they didn't service it on time, and that's why this happened. I'm not sure, because like I said, I have seen some of these with 150,000, I have seen some with 190, 200,000 at auction, so they for sure can make it that far. Or you could just live with the ticking and just drive it as is, but then, you know, it's like a grenade. You don't know when it's gonna come off, and that's not a way to own a car, you know, when you're unsure if you're gonna make it somewhere in that car. So yeah, that's that. I hope you guys enjoyed. Hit the subscribe button, give the video a like if you guys enjoyed this, and yeah, that about concludes this this drive of this Macan. Thank you guys for watching.